Hello everyone, this is Crotoss giving you Game 2 in a series between Mouse Morrow and oGsMC. Game 2 taking place on Crossfire. This was part of Dreamhack. I hope you guys enjoy this game. I've enjoyed watching the first game with you so far. Game 1 taking place on Metalopolis and oGsMC. Sweden water so good. oGsMC just playing a very cold and calculating style of Protoss. You can see Morrow spawning here as the blue Zerg player on the south side of the map. Meanwhile, oGsMC spawning on the north side of the map as the red Protoss. Protoss versus Zerg, and this promises to be another interesting matchup. Interestingly enough, we have an early scout now coming in from MC. Kind of curious as to why it was an earlier scout this time as opposed to last game. Trying to remember the scouting timings, especially since there are only 2 spawning locations on this map. So by only having 2 spawning locations on this map, he knows where exactly to send his probe. And in order to get the proper site, we'll see he's going to come up this ramp, take a look around, and perhaps he's waiting to see if his opponent will either be going for an extractor first or for an hatchery first. We are getting that extractor down now, so it looks like it will be a gateway being placed down. So both sides just pretty much building a standard build order. Morrow will be needing to sacrifice one of his drones in order to build a spawning pool in just a moment. There it is. As Morrow going into that extractor spawning pool build. A very, very common build in order to get metabolic boosted lings early on. And MC most likely will be getting the cybernetics core here and then being able to position a zealot right here. One zealot here able to hold off a large number of zerglings. Actually, the positioning is kind of weird. I don't know if that gap is actually large enough. It may actually open up a little bit too much. If he tries to put his cybernetics core here, we'll see how the building placement does work out. I'm sure MC has practiced on this map much more than I have. This is not your typical standard StarCraft 2 map. As it is not in the common ladder pool, so I don't know if he really has that much time to practice front door seals on this map and whether or not it will make or break any differences. Let's take a look here. That gap does look a little bit larger than what normally a zealot would try to position itself in. A zealot now being trained here, and it will sit here, but if zerglings are able to run by or even get a surround onto that zealot, a lot of damage would be dealt. And that drone now simply passing through there, going to take a look into a double gas build by MC. So MC's double gas build and also having a lot of energy. So he's saving 50 energy on his Nexus right now, and still not exactly sure what he's trying to go for. He may be going for that standard sentry play that I was talking about earlier, as that drone still wandering around that zealot. Now trying to be very careful, now going to try to sit right there. And is there enough room? It may just be enough room right there. I'll have to take a look around as that drone now still wandering around on the inside of this map here. Let's take a look at the production tab, and MC will be supply locked in just a moment if he tries to train any additional probes without getting a pylon anytime soon. A stalker now microing after this one particular probe, and yes, MC will be supply locked in just a little bit, but he is going currently for more gateways as well. And back in the base over here, we currently have Morrow sitting on one hatchery, second hatchery about to be completed. As wow, MC is no, he is not supply locked. I got my colors confused for just a moment. Yeah, not supply locked at all. He's fine. As we now have a stalker, a sentry, and a zealot. As soon as this sentry is out, MC doesn't really have to worry about that zealot trying to hold the ramp any longer, as a zergling now just running across the map. You do see the Zelnaga watchtowers being activated here and here. So anytime units try to come down this main walkway, they will be revealed by the more common choke points. An overlord also positioned itself here to make sure if there is an expansion, he is able to spot it in time. There is yes, also a set of destructible rocks here for a possible third base if MC decides to take it. Same thing for Morrow over here on the bottom right hand side of the map. Sentries and stalkers now trying to shut down this overlord here, and it looks like it may get destroyed. Yes, down it goes. Overlord just getting a little bit too close, trying to take a sneak peek at this expansion and getting destroyed in the process. It is going to be Blink Micro by MC, so you can see it is going to be 3-gate Blink Micro, the Twilight Council hidden at the north side of the base, a place where most Overlords will not be able to get to very easily, as a Stalker is holding position right there and a Zergling unable to sneak by. We are getting a Zergling trying to take down one of those Stalkers here, as Zealots and Stalkers are making their way out. I don't see a probe coming out with this group. Never mind, there it is. A probe coming out with that group now, and as long as a lot of those Stalkers, and as long as that Blink Micro works out well, he should be able to get a lot of mileage. We'll see what's going to be happening, as there are also a lot of Roaches being trained. The Roaches, however, do not have that movement speed upgrade, as we are not at tier 2. So those Roaches are not going to be able to get as decent of an arc. And here's the battle now. Stalkers are fighting it back and forth. Are they going to start blinking? Yes, there you go. Blinking the lower hit point Stalkers, and doing a great job doing so, saving those Stalkers, enabling them to continue to deal more and more damage. And now this is going to be a bit of a problem, as there are a lot of Roaches, and now a Pylon also here as well. So MC is going to be able to warp in more and more Stalkers in just a moment. The lower hit point units need to get to the back, as these spine crawlers are in a bit of out of position. One spine crawler dangerously low on hit points, now trying to get as much damage as possible. You can see MC trying to snipe down one of those spine crawlers. Down it goes. Zergling's now trying to get in a decent swarm as well. Both sides battling it out, and MC just doing a great job microing those Stalkers, making sure that the ones that are lower on hit point are able to run to the shadows, and continuing to do so. Roaches are just trying to continue to file in, but a lot of damage has been dealt. But Morrow is still having a decent number of units now coming in, and oh, all of those Stalkers unable to warp in here, and now deciding to be warped in here instead to act as reinforcements just in case Morrow was able to do a decent counterattack. The problem is now Morrow is significantly ahead. He has a significantly larger income, 1,200 compared to 800 total, and his army is not too shabby either. Roaches, as soon as they get to tier 2, are going to be able to deal a lot more damage, and tier 2 is not yet underway. And the reason why Roach movement is so important is that Stalkers outrange Roaches, and it takes Roaches a little bit more time to walk in and try to arch and try to bundle up before they're able to get that damage onto that block of Stalkers. Without that movement speed upgrade, they are significantly weaker than Stalkers. But as long as there's a creep highway established, it's almost like Roaches almost have that movement speed upgrade, and then once they are movement speed upgrade even on creep, it is even faster. We are now taking the tier 2 finally, evolution chamber coming online over here. We are going to most likely be getting the missile upgrades in just a moment, as the Nexus now being established by MC realizing that his Stalker Blink Micro not enough to fend off and put a lot of pressure, and now transitioning into a different strategy in order to try to take and get an advantage on this game. Zerglings now continuing to swarm one Stalker over here, nicely positioned, making it very difficult to flank. And then there is also more Stalkers here that can reinforce this low hit point Stalker, and as soon as this Stalker is essentially taking too much damage, it can blink across that gap and then be able to live and laugh and fight another day. We are getting in some swarm of Zerglings here. The creep tumors are not being spread out, and that concerns me just a little bit, as Morrow should be able to get a very strong creep highway across this map already. We are getting tunneling claws and burrow for research, so perhaps those Roaches are going to be able to pop up right underneath those Stalkers and sentries and start dishing out the damage and trying to destroy their opponent that way. Also, a Nexus finally up and running, probes being transferred from the main base, as we are now getting 7 Roaches queued up. More creep tumors are being laid down as well. Morrow finally getting the memo to establish this creep highway. Another creep tumor over here perhaps could just spread here to here in just a moment, and Morrow should have a very strong creep highway in just a matter of seconds. Back over here, still a group of Stalkers, and both players just sitting back and relaxing right now, figuring out what their long-term goals and strategies will be. They want to make sure that they don't necessarily play into their opponent's hands and give them a very significant lead. Production-wise, Roaches are still being added army-wise, Zerg is slightly ahead in terms of the mineral army, but behind in terms of total resources, as there's a 1225 gas army versus a 625. And you can see that Stalker did blink across that gap there, and now burrowing a Zergling and making sure, still his opponent able to activate that Xel'Naga Watchtower, even though there is a burrowed Zergling here. And that one burrowed Zergling does not want to go toe-to-toe against a low hit point Stalker, just because the Stalker should still be able to kill it relatively easily, as an observer now making its way across the map. You can see tunneling clawed roaches on the move, and the Stalkers are going to be able to give a very, very nasty surprise very, very soon. And he should probably not have engaged just quite yet. If he had perhaps just waited for his opponent to walk up and then blinked on top of those roaches, a lot more damage could have been had. Roaches, while they're burrowed with tunneling claws, regenerate hit points at an amazing rate, 10 hit points a second. If you're not quite sure how much damage that is, the Stalker's DPS is about 10. So it would take 2 Stalkers 15 seconds, 16 seconds to shoot down on a roach that has that tunneling claws upgrade. Meanwhile, back over here, you can still see Stalkers, Sentries, and Zealots hanging out by that low ground. oGsMC still not quite sure what he wants to do. There is a significant food size difference, 169 compared to 107, as the Stalkers were able to blink out of that Zergling swarm and letting the Zealots handle the rest. 3325 compared to 2975 now, as we are still sitting on a decent amount of larvae. Yes, just 4 larvae. All of them does have the spawn larva ability going on, and it looks like MC wants to try to counter his opponent at this stage. Stalkers are going to make it their way out. As soon as those creep tumors are destroyed, he knows that something is going to be up, as those Zerglings and roaches try to battle it out. But the Stalkers were able to blink to the shadows once again. Still a large number of roaches. Taking a look, if you look at the unit combinations, 48 roaches and 3 Zerglings. So mass roaches just swarming across the map, and the roaches now just coming up the ramp, trying to get even more damage across those Stalkers. The Stalkers, however, do move a little bit more slowly, and a force field just completely misplaced there, and nicely done with burrowed roaches, able to escape once more and saving some of his units. An Overlord somehow snuck its way inside the base of MC, and now is just spawning creep, unable to really build anything else, as Colossi are being added. Here comes the battle now. Roaches continuing to battle it out. Roaches are trying to burrow their way underneath the battle, and now continue to dish it out over here. You can see the Stalkers are blinking away as the Sentries continue to fight, and once again, Morrow being forced to retreat with all of his units, and there are Hydralisks in that group as well. The Hydralisks are going to become very, very key in this battle, as the Roaches need to fight their way through, and it looks like this is a little bit of a bad position by MC. MC kind of getting flanked at this point, and down goes the Colossus there. Roaches are pushing their way, and the Stalkers really have nowhere to run except for along the far side here, and now drones are trying to trip up some of those units. So that was a nice play by Morrow, pulling drones off the mineral line in order to make sure that these Stalkers were not able to retreat, and this is just looking really bad by MC. MC taking a lot of damage just by overcommitting into that fight, getting flanked and not able to properly retreat, and so much damage has been dealt. MC now needs to play much more defensively. He does have a Colossus. He needs about 3 or 4 more at this stage in order to fight back against this army, as the Roaches continue to just barrel their way through. Hydralisks are joined in on the fight as well. Hydralisks with a range of 6. I believe, yes, range of 6. The Groove Spines research has been completed, so range of 6 Hydralisks. Also movement speed upgrades as long as they're on creep to slither faster, but it does not look to be the case, as the Stalkers now finish off that Overlord that was inside the base. Corruptors finally being added, so the Corruptor is going to deal extra damage towards those Colossi. I believe 19 damage per attack, even before Corruption. As the Overlords now on the move. Overlords do not have ventral sacks, but the Overlords are just making their way out. Hydralisks and Roaches continue to battle it out over here. Stalkers need to blink away. Not quite sure. There you go. Finally, I believe they blinked away, as the Stalkers and Roaches are continuing to fight it out, trying to dish it out. No sentries in this group, and oGsMC unable to stop this group of units from being able to continue their pressure. Morrow now establishing also the 4 o'clock expansion location. 4 Colossi without weapons upgrade, trying to fend off a very large group of Roaches and Hydralisks. The Roaches just charging their way through, not caring about the damage they are taking, and MC says GG. So MC losing to Morrow here on Crossfire after a really bad overexposure here on the map. And you can see by pushing forward just a little bit too much, the roaches and the hydralisks, actually I believe it was actually right here, by pushing forward a little bit too much right here, the units didn't have a proper retreat path, and then they try to run up this ramp and try to retreat along this path, but as soon as drones started tripping up the units and they got stuck over here, the stalkers were then just stuck on this low ground here. Once again, the roaches just cut off the retreat path, came in over here, and was able to simply destroy MC's army. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between MC and Morrow here on Crossfire.